I used to think the sound of steel told the truth, the way a span hums when a truck crosses, the way a rivet sings when it holds. Turns out, the truest sound in my life was paper. A card, folded in half, with a sentence that wasn't meant for me. My name is Rachel. I'm 33. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, 2 blocks from the lake when the wind wants attention. I'm a bridge inspection engineer for the state hard hat, harness, clip-in, clipboard. My days are metal and math and the quiet pride of letting strangers cross safely without ever knowing my name. At home, I forgot that weight limits apply to people too. My partner Mark, 35, is a physical therapist. He rehabs shoulders and knees and the part of a person that believes again. We met at a community 5K charity sign-up where I made a joke about load ratings and he called me the only person who could flirt with a truss. We've been together 6 years, living together 4. People described us as steady, not dramatic, not boring, just the kind of couple who shows up with folding chairs and a cooler and leaves the park cleaner than we found it. We built a routine that made sense. I was early mornings with traffic counts. He was evening sessions with athletes and retirees who wanted stairs to stop arguing with them. Fridays were takeout and a movie we'd talk over. Sundays, groceries and a long walk past the stadium, even when the Browns made hope feel expensive. If you'd asked me, I would have said our foundation was trust. I would have said we were an ordinary good. I would have been half right. It started with late Thursdays. Mark began volunteering at a community center on the east side, a free clinic night with basic screenings and pain education, which is a kinder way to say teaching your body to stop bracing for old. Storms. He came home lifted, not hyped, just useful. He'd tell me about a veteran who could finally sleep, a grandmother who wanted to dance at her niece's wedding and was learning how not to overcorrect with every step. A name kept coming up like a coda after each story, Elena. Elena runs the schedule like air traffic control. Elena started a walking group between rooms so people don't cancel when they're nervous. Elena says the best progress happens during the part. Nobody sees between sessions. In kitchens, in cars. The first few months, I liked Elena without knowing her. I liked the version of Mark who came through the door a little more patient and a little more present. My mistake wasn't trust. My mistake was confusing comfort with attention. Work got heavy. A routine inspection turned into a rehab plan for a rusted-through girder along a commuter corridor. We had to design temporary lane shifts and coordinate closures on a timeline the public would hate no matter how careful we were. I started bringing home rolled plans and orange highlighters like souvenirs from a battle I didn't volunteer for. Mark made dinner more, which I appreciated, and he started telling me stories I only half heard. He'd say, Elena figured out the childcare bottleneck. She found 3 teenagers who wanted service hours, and suddenly nobody missed their slot. I'd nod and circle a defect on a photo and tell myself I'd listen. Properly later. Later became a place you can't live. Red flags weren't sirens, they were traffic cones that kept moving. He began saying we in sentences that didn't include me. We're piloting a small group on pacing. We think the Friday flow should end with gratitude and a snack. We talked about adding music between rooms so people breathe differently. I noticed tone, shifts. The way he quoted Elena was the way you quote a person you let redefine a word you liked. Like when he told me she called posture kindness practiced in public. He loved that line. He said it twice. The first tangible thing I could point to happened on a Saturday. I wasn't supposed to be the center. Our neighborhood association partnered with them for a repair cafe event fix-it tables for lamps and toasters and wobbly chairs, plus a safety station where I gave away reflective stickers and talked about why crosswalks are politics. I finished early and wandered into the gym where clinic rooms became booths. That's where I saw Mark and Elena in the hallway. Not touching, just aligned. Their bodies angled toward the same problem on a whiteboard, handwriting that wasn't his or hers alone. They were laughing about something small and private, a detail about the coffee filters or a misspelled sign, and it landed soft and close in the air between them. I told myself, again, that I liked when Mark liked his life. I told myself that people who build things together often lean in. I told myself patience is love. My emotionally wrong decision was engineer-shaped. I tried to outplan the feeling. I added a date night. I booked us a spring-long weekend in Hocking Hills. I made lists like sandbags. Then came the card. It was a Tuesday. I stopped by the center to drop off a box of spare reflective bands the state had donated. The front desk asked if I could run them back to storage. I said sure, and walked the familiar hallway past a bulletin board where people pinned thank yous with cricket pride. I wasn't snooping. The card just wasn't placed all the way under the pushpin, so it swung slightly when the air vent kicked on. On the front, a drawing of a ladder and the words, "Keep climbing." Inside, in a careful hand I didn't recognize, "You gave me stares that don't feel like punishment anymore." Below that, and a different hand marks, a sentence I knew in my body because I'd said a version of it to him after his first year in outpatient, when he almost quit from the emotional fatigue of carrying other people's stories. Progress is how we hold ourselves while it's still hard. My phrase, our kitchen, our 2 a.m. pet talk turned into an inscription for someone else. He'd signed it, and just under that, someone else had written smaller, "Not for the world, E." I didn't need a detective. I needed oxygen. I stood in the hallway holding a box of reflective bands like a prop in a play I didn't audition for, and every sound got loud. A printer. A child's laugh. My name is called from the front with a question that could wait. I put the bands in storage and walked out into cold lake air and let it hit me until my face felt honest. I didn't go home right away. I drove to a bridge I know by heart. Not one of ours, just a local overpass whose girders catch late light like forgiveness. I sat under it and listened to cars pass overhead, a rhythm that makes sense no matter who you are. Then I opened my phone and typed 3 things into a note. Ask, don't accuse. Want the truth more than you want the old story. Don't get small to keep the bridge. I cooked that night. Roasted chicken, potatoes, green beans. I cooked like someone who needed the kitchen to remember me. Mark came in late, jacket smelling like winter and clinic disinfectant. "Hey," he said, surprised and glad. "Hey," I said, "we ate." We talked about small things because small things are easier than real ones when a real one is about to happen. Then I put my fork down. I saw the board at the center. I said, "The thank you notes." He waited. He's good at waiting. It's part of his job and his nature. There was a card. You wrote a line I recognize. He looked down once like the floor said something. "It's a good line," he said gently. "It is," I said. "I said it to you. In our kitchen, when you almost quit." "Yes," he said. His voice wasn't defensive. It was regret with posture. "Is there something you need to tell me?" I asked. He folded his hands as if he were keeping them from reaching for a script. "I have a connection with Elena," he said. "Not physical," he added, too quickly for it to comfort. "She understands parts of my day I never found words for. We build things together there. It feels—" He searched for the word like it was under a couch. "Aligned," he said. I felt the metal of the word. Aligned. A thing that holds until what? "Do you want to be with me?" I asked. "Yes," he said immediately, like a reflex. Then softer. I don't know how to stop wanting that particular conversation with her. There are answers that split a room. This one split our house. I nodded. "Then we can't call this what we've been calling it," I said. "I can't be the person who lets the best parts of you happen elsewhere and then pretends we're still the same at home." He closed his eyes and breathed like a patient. "I never meant." "I know," I said. "I know you didn't mean harm. I also know harm is what happens when people export their brave." We slept badly. He moved to the couch before I asked. In the morning, we made coffee like adults who respect hot things and went through the exercise of not being cruel. We made a list. Lease, utilities, timeline. He'd stayed as brothers for a week, then sublet with a friend. We'd divide books like Decent Burglars and plants like Diplomats. I'd keep the kettle because mornings are a system I rely on. He left with a box and a heavy kindness. I stood in the doorway after and looked at where his shoes weren't. My life didn't become heroic, it became specific. I ran on the lake path before sunrise and let winter teach me about blunt honesty. I deleted photos I only kept to punish myself. I started bringing a notebook to inspections so I'd stop composing texts on harness time. I sat on my living room floor and cried exactly as long as a kettle takes to boil and told myself grief can have timers. I didn't go to the center for a while. Pride is a bridge you don't cross until it's safe. Work got louder in a good way. We launched the Phase 1 rehab early, rerouted traffic with fewer curses than expected, and I found myself having conversations with business owners who hated cones until I remembered to show them drawings and ask about their deliveries instead of telling them about steel. Presence is a trade. You give up being right first to be understood at all. I started therapy because "I'm fine" is a clever lie. Dr. Sue asked me where I store anger. "Under competence," I said. She smiled with her eyes. She said, let's give competence a day off sometimes. We scheduled days off like a toe touches the water. I cook for myself, not a performance, just care. I learned to make a decent lentil soup and a very good omelet. I bought a plant I didn't need and didn't kill it. I invited my sister over and told her the story without turning Mark into a villain because that wasn't the shape of this. She listened without saying, I knew it, which is the kindest thing a person can do. 2 months later, a mutual friend asked if I'd stop by the center to look at a small accessibility problem aslope at the back door that bullied wheelchairs and supply carts. I went on a Tuesday with a tape measure and a notebook. The front desk smiled in that way communities do when they decide you're still family, even if you left the living room for a while. In the hallway near storage, I saw Elena. I'd seen her before, of course, at events in motion. This time she was still. She had the expression of someone who solves things because her body won't let her walk past. She saw me, and her face did not flinch. She said, Rachel? I said yes. She said, do you have 10 minutes for the back door slope? We walked. We did not talk about Mark at first. We talked about inches and thresholds and the budget that said no, and the people who needed yes. We sketched on cardboard. We made a plan with cheap wood, sweat, and a grant application she'd already half written in her head. When we were done, she said, I owe you an apology. No, I said. Yes, she said, and didn't blink. For taking up space in sentences that should have been said at your table first. It wasn't dramatic, it was correct. I nodded. Thank you, I said. I don't want to be part of a story that made you small, she said. I'm not small, I said. Her mouth twitched. Good, she said. We stood there with a cardboard drawing that could help old wheels and new deliveries. Then she asked, Are you okay? I am getting honest, I said. That's close to okay, she said. I left feeling lighter in a way I didn't trust yet. Lighter isn't a verdict, it's a beginning. Spring didn't fix anything, it made things grow. I went to Hocking Hills alone on the weekend I'd booked for us. I hiked, ate at a diner where they put the coffee on your table like a promise, and slept the sleep of a person who didn't solo to prove anything. At the trailhead, I wrote myself a line, I want to be chosen in the middle, not celebrated at the finish. Back in Cleveland, a colleague set me up on a you two might talk the same coffee with someone he knew from city design circles. I almost said no. Then I said yes because you can't only inspect bridges, you have to cross them. His name is Gabe, 32, a high school physics teacher who coaches robotics and asks teenagers questions like they're already adults. We met at a place that sells good muffins. You have to earn by answering the daily riddle. He arrived on a bike with a light that didn't blink like a disco because he said that's rude to drivers and pedestrians. We talked about why people trust some signs and not others. He said, I think the body believes consistent things. I said, me too. We went slow. We kept Wednesday nights empty on purpose. We traded how do you like to be paid attention to lists in a shared note and actually read them. He wrote, ask me how my day was after I've had a snack. I wrote, ask me how my day was at all. We weren't perfect. He sometimes explained when nobody asked. I sometimes turned a small tension into a traffic plan, but we caught drift early. We named what we needed before it required a whiteboard or a stage. A year from the hallway and the card, I stood on the catwalk, under a bridge at dusk. Harness clipped, lake blowing a clean cold I respect. Below me, taillights and headlights did their endless talk. Above me, steel that outlived people did what it was made to do, carry others. I thought about Mark. We texted sometimes like decent people navigating a map they didn't plan. He'd ask how the rehab went. I'd ask whether his Friday group was getting their gratitude in a snack. He said yes, and sometimes they brought extra to share in the hallway. I said that sounded like a good design. I thought about Elena, who emailed me a photo of the finished ramp with a note. Wheels that don't fight welcome people who are tired of fighting. I printed it and put it in my desk. I don't need to be friends with everyone in the story to be grateful for a solved slope. I thought about Gabe, who was probably at his kitchen table creating a worksheet with less text and more space, because he learned that attention is helped by margins. And I thought about me. The part of me that once translated everything into steel and load felt wider. I still love spans and rivets and the way math never pretends to be something it isn't. I also love concerts in small rooms and a plant that refuses to die, and the sound of my own key in the lock when I come home to a place I didn't make smaller to keep anyone. Here's what I know now, with the card and the hallway in the winter taught me. Betrayal isn't always a kiss. Sometimes it's the first drafts of your brave sent to the wrong address. Steadiness is beautiful. It is not the same as presence. Presence costs time, ego, attention. It costs saying, "I miss you," before it hardens into a speech in a hallway. Identity changes when you tell the truth. Not just the relationship. You. When people ask why we ended, I don't say, "He cheated." It isn't the plot. I say, "We outsourced our middle." They tilt their head like I gave them homework. I'm an engineer. I'm okay with homework. If you're listening and your version is a calendar invite, a playlist, a card, a small laugh shared in a hallway, I won't tell you what to do. I'll tell you what I did. I asked, not accused. I wanted the truth more than I wanted the old story. I refused to make myself small to keep a bridge that needed more bolts than I could be. I'm Rachel. I still clip in, look down, and trust the math. I still believe strangers deserve to cross without fear. I still buy folding chairs and coolers and leave parks cleaner than I found them. I still keep a kettle that remembers mornings. And when I stand under a span that hums with other people's lives, I put my palm on the steel and say the sentence that didn't exist in me a year ago. I am here. Not an apology. Not a plea. A presence. Mine first, so the next person I love gets the person I didn't abandon to a hallway. The sound of steel doesn't lie. Neither does paper, if you listen. I do. I'm listening now.